actually looking around. You can see they're actually changing direction and looking where to jump next. We're going to jump onto the steering wheel. I don't know if it's going to be able to make it. It might be just a little bit too large a gap. Let's see if I can... There we go. Come back this way. Did you manage to get to the flower as well? Mm-hmm. Not quite, yes. Okay, little one, I'm sorry. Where have you gone? Oh, he's gone. I think he must be living on the vehicle. Look like that's where it came from. So let's jump aboard. Hopefully you got to see that quite nicely. And see what else we can go and find in the bushveld this afternoon. Oh, there he is. He's just on the dashboard. You're coming with us, little one. They'll actually pounce on the prey just like a lion or a leopard pounces on their prey. And incredibly quick. Saw one catch an insect the other day. Probably quite a lot bigger, probably about this size in body. And it was quite a few centimetres from this insect, and it just launched itself, and it was quicker than a flash. It really was quite amazing to see. So as promised, we're going to try and head off into the east for a little bit. Apparently there was some leopard tracks and rhino tracks seen there this morning. And with the sun you can see it's beautiful this afternoon. The chill has gone out of the air and it is a beautiful day. So I've got high hopes of seeing some interesting things this afternoon. And if you would like to ask any questions, please feel free to send them through. It'd be great to hear from you this afternoon. And send the questions through to questions@wildearthsafari.tv. Questions@wildearthsafari.tv if you would like to ask any questions this afternoon. And of course we're going to be keeping an ear to the ground in case Karula makes an appearance. And I would like to head over back towards the west at some stage this afternoon if we have chance. And see if there is any more movement from Our Lady. We managed to catch up with the elephants after quite a long search this morning, giving us the run around. I think they were following us. And if anybody's following us on the map this afternoon, we're heading south towards Fiddleman's Dip. We're going to be taking Weaver's Nest towards Chelapan. See if there's anybody wallowing in the mud this afternoon. Hi Fira. I'm hoping you're watching. I think your question came through this morning and expressing a little bit of concern about Karula's cubs. So I'm hoping that maybe you're watching this afternoon, or maybe anyone that knows her will be able to pass on the information as well. But apparently a few people are concerned that Karula's cubs may have been seen without Karula around. And this is perfectly normal. There's nothing to worry about. The cubs will be left. She's no longer leaving the cubs in dens anymore. So they'll be left by a big tree usually, or somewhere where they're going to be able to climb to safety if there is any potential danger. And if you were with us on the drive where Karula actually left the cubs with us, and as Karula walked off, the cubs still stayed out in the open, and they came and actually sat very close to the vehicle, about 3 or 4 meters away, if that. And it was only when they lost sight of her did they realize, okay, maybe they should go and hide themselves. But when the female leaves an area, the cubs will move around a bit, and especially as they're getting older, they're getting inquisitive, so they may wander a little bit from the tree that she leaves them by, and that's exactly what the cubs did that day. They were left near a marula tree, and they probably walked a good 15-20 meters from that tree. And they'll start to practice hunting. They'll pounce on maybe insects and maybe small things. If birds are around, they'll practice hunting there. Excuse me. So they will wander a little bit, but not too far at this stage. As they get older, they will start to wander further and further, and that's when you'll start to hear Karula calling them a little bit louder. And if you remember when Mishun and Duna, her last litter, when they got to, I think probably over 2.5 years of age, sorry, 1.5 years of age, they're only just coming up for 2.5 years. But when they did actually decide not to respond to her calls, I think Mark was actually on drive that day, and we sat with her. There is somebody here. Warthogs and buffalo. But we were sat with her for about 2.5, 3 hours, watching her calling every so often, and the boys didn't respond to the call. And she moved around and she tried different places, wandering further from where she'd obviously left them. I'd like to get on the other side of this buffalo, but I think this other bull has different ideas. See it, the old bull towards the side, the right hand side of the screen, being a little bit more aggressive to this bull in the screen now. So shaking his head and throwing his head. Sort of a threatening display. Getting irritated a little bit, I think. Warthog coming up to the one standing in the mud. Quite nice to see they're not running off for a change. Hello, mister. He looks quite menacing this afternoon, this one. Looking down his nose. I think the warthog is going to try and join the buffalo just sitting down in the mud now. warthog are watching us very cautiously. It does look like the piglets are edging closer and closer behind the buffalo. I'm not looking too impressed. It's funny, you do often see warthogs following larger herbivores around, and quite often you will find them close to rhinos too. Oh, there we go, there's a piglet coming down to the mud now. Now that the buffalo's moved on, taking some of the vegetation close to the bank. And you can see kneeling, but actually that's the equivalent of our wrist joints. It does look like their knees. And they do have hard calluses, so it cushions them for when they are walking on their knees or wrists when they're feeding like this. And you can see that neck is very short. And if you watch carefully, you'll actually see the piglet also using its nose just to dig some of the vegetation up. So that's why they actually go down on those wrist joints, just to give them extra leverage and get a better angle at being able to graze. And instead of standing up and walking to the next part, you'll see it actually walking on those joints, because it's more energy efficient. And that's one of the key things to survival in the bush, is not wasting energy. Now this looks like it's a female with piglets. Could possibly actually be two females with the piglets, and they are joined by a male. You don't always have a male with the females, and sometimes last year's offspring will still be around. Even young males may stick around for a little while before moving on. The little one's not too sure what's happening. If you watch carefully as it runs, it may just erect that hair on the back of its neck as well. Yep, So you can see that tail sort of standing up like an aerial, almost looks like they're a remote control pig. But as they run, that tail actually starts standing up on end, and that's to actually allow each other to see themselves or see the pig in front of them as it goes through the thick grass. And you can see that tail really well. Even as humans we can actually see it very well as they disappear through the grass, and that's why they have, it's called a follow me sign. So as soon as they start running at quite a lot of speed, that tail will stand up on end, and it's an automatic thing, so as they run they can see each other. And the hair, that long hair down the back, also is used to try and make themselves look bigger. If you think about a cat, when it comes across a dog, the cat will arch its back and make its hair stand on end, and it looks a lot more intimidating than if it's just flat. And that's the same reason why the warthog will have the hair, and they'll allow that hair to stand on end, and it makes them look that little bit bigger, a little bit more threatening. But they have disappeared now. We've got this one buffalo male by himself now. The rest have moved on. So I think we'll do the same. I'm not even bothered about it. He actually looks in very nice condition compared to the other males. I think he's a little bit younger than the other boys. Sorry, mister, I hope I don't disturb you. Franklin's disturbing the peace of the afternoon. Any stations out on drive this afternoon? There's a small Shlami of Inyari at Chelapan. Okay, let's check out Twin Dams before we head. I think we'll come back, if we can, maybe along the drainage line and take Battalier Road to the east if we don't find any tracks down towards Twin Dams. And just as I was talking about earlier about Karula leaving her leopard cubs alone, one of the reasons why they have to is if they try and take leopard cubs along while she's trying to hunt, they could actually destroy her chances of hunting. They may show themselves to the prey, they may start deciding to play and not really concentrating on what's going on, ruin the chances. They may even get injured if they get too close. So she'll only start taking them on hunts once they get a little bit larger, maybe about a year old. But even at this age, say they will start pouncing on things and hunting small things by themselves. Actually take them a little bit earlier and just let's say it just depends on the individuals, depends on how big they are. You may get some tagging along when they're about 7 or 8 months old. Probably won't be able to make a kill themselves of a large animal until they're at least a year old. only approaching 6 months, they're about 5.5 months old now. And they are growing quite rapidly. I see something big down at the dam. It's another buffalo. Another big male. Just have a quick stop here. See if there's any sign of the crocodile. Haven't seen him around here for a little while though. I'm not seeing any sign. Could just be lurking in some vegetation. He might not even be around. I think at one stage it looked like there was a couple of crocodiles. We do have some of the water lilies. Starting to flower. There's quite a few of them around here now. The fruit is definitely favoured by some bird species, and in particular the pygmy goose, but I haven't seen it around here. It's quite a beautiful goose if you do get a chance to see it. It's certainly one of their favourite foods. And even eaten by humans. The flowers and the fruits. You can even make bread from the seeds. I've never tried it though. Have you ever tried it?
We have this potjie called waterblommetjie potjie, and that's basically water flower potjie. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think it's part of the lily family though, but it is something that you find on dams.
No, I think it is the species, one of the species. Yeah.
It's very nice actually. I really enjoy it.
Oh, okay. Apparently it isn't this species then. I thought it was. Aha, so it's not this one. I thought this was the Waterbloemekkies. So you don't know which one it is then?
No, I don't know which one.
Apparently it's found in the Cape though. Aha. I've always been under the impression these were also known as the Waterbloemekkies. So you learn something new every day. They're quite a beautiful flower though. And they are used in ceremonies with some of the tribes as well. Depending on what ceremony and what tribe it is. Oh, which bird is that there? I see somebody swimming towards the water lilies. Okay, it's just disappeared. Ah, probably a dabchick. Yes, it is.
Where are you looking?
He's actually just behind. Oh, he's gone underneath the water again.
Oh, I see them.
Yeah, you see the ripples. He's just behind the water lilies there. There he is, popping up again. Ah, the Cape pondweed is the English name for the ones that are actually tinned and used in the potjie that Herman was talking about.
What's the English name?
Pondweed.
Oh.
But the water lilies, you can still, this particular species, you can still make the bread from the seeds and eat the fruit and the rootstock, the ribosome as well. I think that's also eaten. And I think it's actually the blue water lily, which this one isn't. I'm actually not too sure exactly what species this one is. But the blue water lily is used as an aphrodisiac and an anaphrodisiac. So you have to get the right part of the plant to have the desired effect. So this is, Mark's just telling me, this is the genus Lymphea. So I think it sounds like it's actually the blue water lily is a slightly different genus. I never remember the genus of that one. Nymphalia, I think, is the genus for the blue water lily. I think Mark was also saying, actually, it sounds like this is the same genus, Nymphalia. Nymphea, sorry, saying it all wrong. Nymphea. So it is the same genus as the blue water lily. So it is the same genus. So if I remember rightly, to move on, the flower is the anaphrodisiac and the root is the aphrodisiac in the blue water lily, which this could actually be the blue water lily, just not some. You actually do get this beautiful blue part of the lily. It's actually a beautiful blue flower, but it can be different shades as well, so I'll double check what species this is, but this is the first time I've seen it here. think Mark's also going to just quickly check for us, so we'll see if we can get an answer for you as to which species this might be. As we head around the dam. Have you ever tried the poiki with the pondweed in it? I think I prefer the Afrikaans for it. It sounds nicer. Waterblimmetjies.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's one of my favorite poikies.
Okay.
Do it with another meat. It's not only waterblimmetjie and some sort of meat. Brilliant.
If you're not hearing her, he said that they have the plants in there as well as meat. Apparently it's very, very tasty. I think I'll have to try it at some stage. Now I just want to quickly stop here. I did promise I'd give you an ID. Remember, this was the tree that the elephant was feeding from. Now, if Herman can help me out a little bit, if I can stand here next to... Oh, I need to come closer. If I can stand next to the tree, and hopefully I can try and give you a relative size of this tree. It is huge, and the elephant was actually reaching right up into these top branches here with his trunk. If you remember, this was the huge bull that was around here the other day, so I wanted to try and give you a size comparison. So if I can come and stand over here and give you at least a trunk. But this is actually a greenthorn. I thought it might have been a jackalberry from where we were sitting the other day. I couldn't see any thorns and I couldn't see the trunk, but now you can see the trunk quite clearly. It's all twisted and turned, which is very characteristic of the greenthorn, which I only found out through looking. So it's something I've never really looked at on the greenthorn. I've always just looked up and seen the thorns and thought, okay, it's a greenthorn, or otherwise known as a torchwood, Belinaites. But now, certainly having a closer look at the trunk, you can see it's very characteristic and got these beautiful deep grooves on it, and almost like the trunk intertwisting and intertwining with each other. I think you can stand here at least. Okay. Can you see me at all?
Yeah.
Just. And still, I don't know if that's really helping, but maybe it might just give you an idea of how tall this elephant was. And I think from the ground here up to the first branch is probably 2.5 times my height. So we're looking at maybe about 4 meters just to the first branch there, and he was stretching right up with his trunk. Really quite incredible. I wonder if we're going to bump into him today. So Suzanne, or Susan, if you are watching, hopefully you are, that is the ID of the tree that elephant was eating the other day. And even some fruits were falling to the ground, which look very similar to that of the jackalberry, but are in fact the torchwood berries. And they're about this big, also green. And apparently they have been used to combat a parasite that causes bilharzia. You can pick it up in the water, stagnant water. That's why it's never good to go swimming in stagnant water. Or water that doesn't flow, because you may catch bilharzia. Apparently the pulp of the fruit can actually help combat it. And it kills the snails for some reason that the bilharzia actually uses a host. So the parasite has 2 hosts, the human and the snail. And you can get very sick from it. Ah, thanks, Mark. Mark is saying that it looks like it is the same, it's just much paler. So it looks like we do have the blue water lily here, which is what that probably was then. It's very pale. So if we have the water lilies, and if Egyptian geese, not Egyptian geese, pygmy geese are flying over, and they spot them, we may see them. Quite a beautiful little goose. Makes up quite a large proportion. Yeah, they don't usually occur here. But if they fly over, if they get blown off course, you never know. If they saw them, you might just see them. But we did have them up in the Waterberg. We had actually a couple of residents there, which was also very nice to see. It's bright orange and green. Very distinctive goose. Much smaller than our Egyptian goose that we have here. Probably looking about, for a female, about this sort of size. Whereas Egyptian geese, you're looking about this sort of size. Sort of lengthwise from chest to tail. And maybe stands about this height for the Egyptian goose. And the pygmy probably about this sort of size. The male's not too much bigger. Those plants make up quite a big proportion of their diet. Oh, we were going to drive along the riverbed, weren't we? I forgot about that. Oh well. Maybe when we come back, if we come back this way. Good afternoon, ladies. What are you seeing? They're a little bit jumpy. quite interesting, this male impala, you can see. They're still allowing these young males around with the females. You can see the horns are just poking through now. But certainly the yearlings, that'll be about 1.5 years old now, will not be tolerated. And sometimes not even the very young males, who are probably about 6 months old now, sometimes aren't tolerated either. Depends on the individual male. Although they shouldn't. Ooh. See, they're all looking in that direction. They shouldn't pose a threat to the dominant male. So they're not going to be able to breed at this age. Something's definitely caught their eye a bit further down the road. Some Franklin's calling. I think we need to take a drive up the road and see what it is that's caught their attention. You can see them ears, both ears forward, the nose also forward, and their attention completely focused in that direction. Now, whether it's a threat or not to them, it is difficult to say, because they're not giving an alarm call, so it may not be a predator. Maybe it's an elephant or a rhino or something big. Could even be another antelope moving through the bush. Maybe they are just taking notice of the Franklin that's calling. I'm not seeing anything. Maybe there was a scent of something. So they did. Most of them did go and start eating again. So I don't think it's anything for them to worry about. but always worth keeping a lookout for any danger. Especially in the bush, if you write something off, that could just mean that you've missed something vital. And if a predator is able to just get that little bit closer, the chances decrease for the survival of the prey. The closer that predator can get before it ambushes the prey. So if they did see something, or they did catch the smell, take it very carefully, just in case. Good afternoon, any stations out on drive. There was a small Shlambi of Inyari at Chelapan and on Chelapan Road, heading west. Confirm where, sorry? Keep getting the low-lying branches. Do you fancy a cup of tea? The reason why I ask is because this is a russet bush willow. Actually, is it better down here? Or is it okay here? Just here? And this makes a really nice tea. I think I'm actually going to take a little bit back. And to make the tea, you can take the seed pod, which is this four-winged seed pod. Actually, if I turn it that way, you can actually see this four-winged, which is very characteristic of the bush willows. So the leadwood, which is also part of the bush willow family, also has these types of seeds. And if you take off the wings, so you have to take off the wings like that, and you're actually left with the part of the wing, and then you can grind it down a bit like tea leaves and make a tea from it, just like that. But you want to avoid actually taking the seed because that is toxic. So it's just the wings of the pods. But generally only the russet bush willow I've heard makes a nice tea. Haven't really heard of any of the others. We have the red bush willow here, but if you see, these leaves are quite small, very characteristic of the russet bush willow. Quite small leaves. But the leadwood also fairly small leaves, but quite wavy. And again, the tree trunk itself is quite distinctive. So you don't need to get it mixed up with other bush willows. And also these seed pods quite small. We have a large fruited bush willow where the fruits, or the seed pods, are about this big. So compared to the size of the russet bush willow. I'll take those back and see if I can make myself a cup of tea. Would you like one?
Yes.
I'll take some more back. We do have a couple of russet bush willows around camp as well. I'm looking forward to that cup. Okay, so we are on the search. This afternoon I think there was some rhino tracks seen this morning, so I would love to catch up with a rhino. I haven't seen a rhino for a little while. Or maybe even the leopard. Actually, that'd be quite interesting to hear from you guys back home. If you've tried any interesting, tasty treats from the bush. Whether it's the African bush or the bush from wherever you live, maybe even Australia. Well, I think everyone will be in bed by now if you're from Australia. But maybe you've been on holiday there. Or maybe even forests around where you live, or woodlands. Quite nice to hear if there's any plants that you make tea from or coffee from, anything that you eat. Look forward to during the season. I must admit I'm very upset I've missed all the berries. I was watching for the sour plums to come out, and I think the baboons got to them first. And another one in the Waterberg which I really enjoyed. And generally red in nature you should actually avoid. But this particular berry is red, and it also has latex, which also is another thing you should really avoid. Hey, squirrel. And it's called a stumfra, stem fruit. English name Transvaal milk plum. Now sadly we don't have them here, but it is a very, very tasty fruit. I believe it makes a nice jam too. Quite sweet, and it is red when it's ripe. Might need to drive all the way down Cheetah Cut Line 2. Apparently this was the area that the tracks were lost from the leopard. Couldn't find any more past Mamba Road. Between Mamba Road, Batelier Road and Central Road, which is where we're at now. Is that there? Someone's sitting in a tree. Way the branch folds.
afternoon, is Pumpkin Grove somewhere standing by? She was also reported to Hula with Pumpkin Park on Impala Plain, coming to the other side. And just arriving on Impala Plain, sitting around.
Texan, Texan, come in.
Good afternoon, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Texan. Do you know when that report came in about Karula?
Someone still called her that Karula was crossing into Impala Plain from Tupula.
Sorry, I didn't copy. What time was that?
After 3.
Oh, okay. Apparently Karula's making her way back over towards Impala Plains. Standing by? Stand again? Copy that, thank you. Mind if I join you guys in that area? Sorry, confirm, is there going to be space that side? Copy that, thank you. Apparently she was seen somewhere around, just around 3. So it may have been someone just driving on Triple M, and apparently she crossed over onto Western Gary towards Impala Plains. So it sounds like there's a couple of vehicles that side already. It's there, but maybe the skill not quite honed yet. And for those of you who are just joining us, welcome back. And 5 minutes now. Yeah.